Is that going to happen? Absolutely. Is it going to be me that does it? No. Someone much less ethical than me will launch this business. I would never do it. And you reach out to them with this offer. Hey, why are you using Zapier? You're spending way too much money. I will convert you to and charge 30% of the savings. And then the real money is in being like,
family pictures are awful. I would pay money if they were like, hey, look, I'm going to take enough pictures of your family and I'm now using AI. I'll be able to get everybody smiling.
But this would have been great for my family because my parents got divorced when I was 13 and we never went on vacations after the divorce. So we could have generated pictures of us on the beach and on vacation. We could have been an AI generated happy family.
AI is going to make a lot of families happy.
Yep.
Not yours, but families in the future.
Cool. I was on Twitter last week and I saw a viral tweet, 2.2 million views by Felix. So this is what the tweet says. Remote jobs for introverts, no talking required. You can do them in the evening from home after your 9-to-5 job and they pay well in USD. Open this. Arrow pointing down, 2.2 million views. And all he does is go on to like list like a Tesla job or an Apple job that like would be good for an introvert. So we've never really talked about the job board business before, but other podcasts have. It's an amazing business because it's very, very passive, right? You just, okay, let me stop. Let me start why it's a bad business. It's a bad business because it's a marketplace. You need buyers and you need sellers. You need people to list jobs and you need people to find jobs. Marketplaces are hard. But if you can figure out the marketplace, if you can go niche and do something a little different, then a job board is an amazing business because it is so passive. You don't have customer support. Companies go find it. They list a job for $200 to $500, and then people go find the jobs and apply to jobs. So what about a job board for introverts or extroverts? Go.
Oh, interesting. So it's not a job board based on job type. It's a job board based on like personality type.
Exactly.
I think that's really creative. There is a big trend right now happening, and you see it with like decoupling, right? We used to have big cable companies, Comcast, and then what did we do? Now all of a sudden we've got Netflix and Hulu and ESPN Plus and CB, whatever. Like now we're like buying all of those things individually. You see it large social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Well, now like local communities are becoming more and more popular. And the same thing is happening with hiring, right? And job boards. Like I think there's a physician job board that's pretty small, but it's doing like $80 million a year because it's just targeted at physicians. Or there's nursing job boards, and it's not necessarily as high tech as some of these other job boards, but it's very niche. And so, hey, I know exactly what I'm going for, and I know that it's going to serve me and my community. But those are all job type specific, which I still love them. Like you and I have talked about doing a job board, but I've never thought about doing it based on like personality type.
Yeah.
How would you
Why
build
not?
it?
Well, you're going to go find all the subreddits and all the Facebook groups for introverts. I mean, it is a religion. Like in my household, we talk about introverts and extroverts on a weekly basis.
Really?
It's split down it's just like a thing. I don't know how it started, but all my kids refer to it. There's 3 introverts and 3 extroverts in my family. And as our friend Steven would say, labels disable. He would not like that. But forget it. Labels are awesome.
Yeah, so, labels are for disables.
I like this also because you don't need to have any coding experience. jboard.io and niceboard.co. Those are both awesome,
nice
like
board.
out of the box, plug and play job board pieces of software. So I think if you can find the community, have them rally around your cause, then you can go aggregate a bunch of jobs that are already listed on other websites that might be befitting of an introvert and list them yourself. So you're not an empty marketplace. That way you can have the supply side full before you get the demand side. And then once you get some traction from the job applicants, then you can actually go out and start soliciting people to put paid listings up.
Talk to me about the technology for it, because that kind of it's always scared me. Oh, it's a job board. Someone's got to go online. They got to apply. I wouldn't know how to build the platform necessary to handle the inbound, the screening, the communications, etc. Think of like Upwork, right? You post to Upwork. You don't want them going around, or Upwork at least, or Fiverr. They don't want them going around and billing you. They want the transaction to go through their platform because that's how they get paid. They charge a percentage of the transaction. So in my mind, it just would be technologically complicated. Is it not? Like, would it not be hard to build a platform for a job board like this?
That is literally what I just said.
I know. I heard
There's it's plug and
do that. I freaking hate when you do that. I just thought it's easy. What I'm saying is those two things solve that. That like you'd be able to have a job board platform that allows for private communications, payment processing, all that stuff.
It does all that.
How would you charge for it? Would it be the same as like every other model? It's just a percentage of placement, or is it like a recurrent?
It's a flat fee per post to pay to the employer.
Paid by the employer, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so people who are joining it aren't paying. It's not a
right.
What would be the way to work up to it? I feel like you'd have to work up to the marketplace because you have to have, like you said, it's double-sided. You have to have the supply and the demand. It's just really hard to bring them both together at the same time. It seems like you want to start like locally, right?
You go to other job boards and you take their listings that seem to be like a listing for an introvert and you just put it on your website.
So just your gut, like, I think this looks like an introvert. You wouldn't necessarily beforehand kind of write a script and say, these are the job functions and titles that I want, and then just go run it.
Most of these job board platforms have like API integrations with the Indeeds of the world. So you can with one click, you can fill the job board with jobs. And like, they're not paying you, but who cares? You're just trying to make it look like an active marketplace.
Oh, so the supply is done. The supply is taken care of. You don't have to like convince anybody to go do it. It'd be the demand side. And that's where you're saying Reddit, going onto the Reddit subreddits. Yeah,
that's to find the demand.
Dude, I like it. What else could you do? Okay, introverts and extroverts.
You could do it with like, Myers-Briggs type stuff.
You know what would be an interesting one is ex-professional athletes. I know that's like hyper niche, but I love hiring ex-collegiate and I haven't hired that many professional athletes, but like ex-collegiate athletes, like they work hard, they know what it takes. They usually are disciplined, they're driven.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you could go to an employer or like market it as like, hey, this is the profile and we only market these to professional athletes, let's say, I think you get a lot of people signing up and probably even charge a premium because it is so much more targeted.
Yeah. I mean, you could get a lot more niche than that if you wanted. You could do like D2 athletes. You could do like D2 track and field athletes.
Yeah.
You could do return missionaries, like LDS return missionaries.
Yeah. Dude, I like that idea. So I know you know the answer to these questions. All right. I know you know, but I'm going to ask you anyway, because I'm trying to set it up for the listener, Chris. Okay. Don't hey, my eyes, they're up here. Okay, buddy.
Hey, I'm eating gum. Okay. Can I pull some gum out?
You know what Spirit Halloween is.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody who's listening probably knows what Spirit Halloween. And if you don't know what Spirit Halloween is, think of the Halloween store that pops up every year around this time of year in the vacant, closed down, Sports Chalet, Sports Authority, whatever Sears, whatever company that went out of business and they just haven't filled the rent. Spirit pops up and they sell Halloween costumes and Halloween accessories. I want you to first take a guess for me. For companies that are in the space of Halloween costumes, decorations, the Halloween industry, whatever you want to call it, how much do you think they generate every year in revenue? Costumes, decorations, accessories, toys, all that stuff. How much do you think they generate?
A few $100 million.
Okay. Thank you. You just softballed me, dude.
What?
$12 billion a year. 12 billion with a B. Now, the next question, Spirit Halloween. All right. That little company. It's literally a pop-up company. They operate for a short period of time. How much do you think that they generate every single year in revenue?
$500 million.
Okay. 1.2 billion. They're about 10% of the total market. It's $1 billion company that just does pop-up Halloween sales. So my gear's going, dude. Got Papa Nick thinking about this. And I wanted to bring this up to Chris, the Observer. All right, Christopher James Koerner. I wanted to talk about, in my mind, there are seasonal opportunities for businesses that you don't think about until it's happening,
mm-hmm.
that are interesting. And so I'm gonna name a couple: Christmas tree farms and Christmas tree lots. I think those are fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this before. Fireworks, 4th of July, and New Year's. The problem is because they are seasonal, you aren't necessarily thinking about it all year. It takes a long time to get them spun up. There is a potential investment. So my question to you, distribution guru, Christopher James Koerner, how would you think about spinning up a seasonal business? Like, how would you go about, all right, I want to do Christmas lights. What would be like your next step?
One word.
Oh,
You ready?
oh yeah.
Piggyback. I'm going to see myself out. I'm done. We're done here.
I want my piggyback, 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 piggyback. What do you mean?
Piggyback. You got to go find the service brands that are not too small, but not too big, and borrow their customers. Say, hey, you own a landscaping business. I know you've got a crew. You've got 6 trucks. Do you do Christmas lights? No, we're thinking about it. Okay, I do. Can you just like refer us for, we'll give you a cut, or would you just like white label us? You can charge, you can collect the payment and just pay us 70% of it and we'll come do the actual work. Just tap in.
Like, you're just like, all right, who already has access to the target market that I want access to? And I'm going to go to them. That makes total sense. Landscaping companies. What about, Christmas tree farms?
Like, how would I launch a Christmas tree farm?
No, how would you go about identifying who would have access to your target demographic? Like, I always see them in like a grocery store parking lot or like a Home Depot, or maybe that's a market where it's like, they've kind of already got their people, right? Like my town, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, already has the tree lots that everybody goes to. And maybe that's a bad one, but here's, let's do another example. Seasonal.
I got an idea.
Okay. I'm here.
So we're assuming that we're launching a Christmas tree farm, right?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Okay. So,
or a Christmas tree lot that sells the trees, right?
Yeah. And we're also assuming that we're not going to be, raising these trees ourselves. We're going to go buy them from someone else.
Yep.
Okay. So with that in mind, I don't think there's any loyalty to the Christmas tree business. I think it's one of those things where, every November rolls around, families driving around, they see it in the corner parking lot out in front of the Home Depot or whatever it is, like, oh, it's time to get a Christmas tree. They don't know what company's behind it. They don't care. They want a real Christmas tree. So they always buy it from the place that they see it. And maybe it's at this intersection one year and that intersection another year. They don't know or care if it's the same business or not. So what I would do is I would not worry about any competitors. I would go to the Department of Transportation website and look at the traffic counts at all the intersections in my local area, however far away I'm willing to drive. And I would find the one with the most cars. And then I would whittle it down, look at Google Earth, and find the intersections that actually have space for something like this, because many of them won't. And then I would go to the tax records and find the owner of that land and try to lease that land for 2 months every year.
All right.
And then I would just pop up shop.
A genius idea. I'm going to try to level it up a little bit. So you are talking about getting customers by the busiest streets. All right. Because that's traditionally how they're done, right? Hey, I'm going to see it and then I'm going to pull over and I'm going to go and buy a tree. How could you find them before the impulse buy? Like, could you target on Facebook? Like, hey, reserve your Christmas tree today, 20% off, and like pre-sell these Christmas trees and then go to a commercial. I'm sure you could find a commercial tree farm, because like surely the tree farms are not the ones who are also popping up in the Ralph's or Kroger's parking lot, right? I'm sure you could find a commercial tree farm and like negotiate a lower rate. And you're essentially just wholesaling them. And then obviously you would have to solve for the delivery, but is there a way you could go upstream and digitally market to those people, either through Facebook or through Google or Instagram, and get them to buy even before they're on the road with the impulse buy for trees?
I think you could. I think that makes logical sense, but I've never seen anyone doing it. So it would just make me nervous.
Oh, so if no one's ever done it before. Okay.
Huh. I mean, really, like... I just don't want to be the first person to try that.
Right.
I would go to the guy who is doing it and just kind of like talk him up a little bit. Oh, it's a cool business. Oh, how many of these trees do you go through every season? And I'm sure they get asked that all the time. And it's like, okay, 2,000 trees every season in 2 months. This intersection has 20,000 cars, so I can expect to do 10% of the amount of cars in trees. This intersection has 75,000 cars. Oh, I wonder if I could do 7,500 trees in 2 months. Like, I need to pull out all the stops to get one of those 4 corners of that intersection. And then I would just try to open hopefully a little earlier than the other guy. It's not really necessary. It's just a location game, I think.
Yeah. Love it. Well, like Christmas trees are just one, but there are a ton of just seasonal businesses: snow cone stands, ice cream stands, car washes in the summer, fundraising thing. I saw one that was an ice rink. I posted about it. Like someone just like made an ice rink in their backyard that I thought was super cool. I think there are the seasonal businesses that by the time you see them and you're like, oh, dude, I want to launch that business. It's just too late. So I like the idea of like working my way back and thinking, all right, next year, if I was going to do a Christmas lights business, what am I going to do? And I really like that idea of just go and find the landscaper, like go and find who already has that target demographic and then reverse engineer it with them, like piggyback. Gosh, dang it, Chris, you're good at this. You're good at this.
I don't know. I'm a framework guy. What do you want me to say? Tattoo it on my forehead, Nick.
All right, what you got?
All right, I got a funny one. It's kind of funny. A little comedic break for you. But this could be a thing.
You had me at funny.
I know you don't watch this show. Love is Blind. Do you get the concept?
Yes.
Okay.
It's blind people dating. And they take their sticks and they like feel the other person's face. They're like, I think they're good looking, right? That's how it works.
That's bum fights. No, that got canceled. No, for those who don't know, Love is Blind is like one of the biggest shows on Netflix. And there's like 7 seasons now. They're releasing 3 seasons a year, which tells me it's very, very popular. Of course, it's Netflix. They don't have to disclose how many viewers they're getting, but clearly it's very popular. The whole concept is you have men in pods, about 15 men, and women in pods. And they don't have their phones. They don't bring in their phones with them. They just have each other. And then they date like through a wall. So you can hear each other's voice, you can talk, but they're not allowed to talk about each other's appearance. And they're not allowed to see each other until after they have proposed, until they're engaged.
So it's like online dating, but you're
no
actually
pictures.
hearing them.
Yep.
Okay.
You hear their real voice, but you are not allowed to talk about your appearance, and you're not allowed to see each other, and you don't have your phone. So you literally, it is a pure show, in the sense that they can't see each other, and in every other sense, it is a very impure show. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So it's very entertaining, and the best part, there's 2 best parts of the season. Number 1 is when they first see each other, right? The sliding doors open, and they're like, and it's just like you can just read on their faces. Do they like what they see or not?
Because there's 2 emotions that are potentially at play. There's excitement as the viewer. You're like excited for them to see. And then immediately there could be the cringe of like, oh, she doesn't like him. Oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's just, you watch their faces.
Right.
When they first see each other, and sometimes they're like, and you can like, just for a split second in their eyes, you can be like, oh, no. It's like that Leo DiCaprio meme where it's like, and he's pointing. It's like, you think he's ugly. You think she's ugly. And so it's just so good because then they embrace and they hug and they kiss and they share rings. And you can just tell if one of them's not into it. Sometimes neither one of them is into it. And I just love it because all of them in the pods, they're like, honestly, I don't even care about looks. Honestly, like for real though, I don't care about looks. I don't even care. You could be 500 pounds. I just don't care. They all say that to each other. And it's like, dude, stop. Yeah, just stop. Anyway, I haven't even gotten to the idea yet. That's the concept. So that's the best part of the season. And then the other best part of the season is when they go to the altar. Because a lot of times at the altar, even most of the time, one of them says, never mind, I'm out.
Oh, they're getting married?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's high stakes, dude.
They get engaged before they see each other. And then they go on vacation together, like all the couples, to like a resort in Mexico. And they like date. And then they go back home to like live in the real world together. And then they have a wedding day. And they're not allowed to like break up before the altar. They have to break up at the altar if they're going to break up.
Oh my gosh, dude.
They're like contractually obligated. Okay. All right. If you are watching this clip right now, you are watching this on YouTube. And if you are a fan of podcasts, please check out my podcast while you're at it, because sometimes I have podcasts that aren't on YouTube and sometimes I have YouTubes that aren't on podcasts. So check out the Koerner Office on any podcast platform, or you can go to tkopod.com. Also, my newsletter, we'll throw that in there. There are no ads. It's weekly. It's different content than my podcast and YouTube. Newsletter.chrisjkoerner.com. You'll see the link and we'll see you there. Here's the idea. Are you ready for this?
Okay.
This could be done on a small scale. It doesn't have to be a Netflix show. It could be done with iPhones. Okay. You're going to love this. You ready for it?
Mm-hmm.
It's Love is Blind,
okay,
except one of the genders, it could be male, could be female, doesn't matter, are little people. And the other gender are normally sized people. And they are not allowed. The little people are not allowed to disclose it. And then there's a reveal.
Do they know before going into it?
No. Nope.
Chris,
The
you're
little
wrong
people,
for that.
the little people assume that it's a show like Love is Blind only for little people, and the other people assume that it's kind of like a Love is Blind copycat. And then you have the big reveal, and we will truly know if Love is Blind when that reveal happens. Tell me that wouldn't be good television.
Of course it'd be good television. I don't know that you could
imagine?
do it for more than one season, though.
Oh, you could. You totally could.
Do you remember when we were growing up? I mean, even now, they have movies, and like in the movies is like the ugly girl or the ugly guy or the guy that's gross or like whatever. I think about those people probably because I identify with them. But like, that would suck to be like, oh yeah, I'm
You're
a movie
reading
star.
the script.
I'm a movie star. I'm in all, like Steve Buscemi. I'm like, I'm a movie star. And it's like, ugly man enters the room.
And Fat Amy.
Yeah. It's like, you're just always known as that.
Yeah.
At least when you're famous, you have a lot of money to kind of like console yourself. Do you think there could be some like emotional damage for either one of them? Like the little people when they're like, wait, they didn't like me, or for the, I don't know, regular sized person when they just feel bait and switched. I don't know. That feels to me like you're upping the stakes and upping the likelihood of there being even just some mental trauma there.
Yeah. Is that going to happen? Absolutely. Is it going to be me that does it? No. Someone much less ethical than me will launch this business. I would never do it.
I thought you were going to say like business is blind.
It's going to be called Love is Little.
What about Little Lovers?
That's something else entirely.
What about Little Bit of Love?
Oh,
that is the weirdest. I love that you brought it up, but that is one of the weirdest ideas. All right, I got one for you. You ready?
Would it not be good entertainment?
Of course, it'd be good entertainment. It'd just be hard to pull off. You'd have to actually have the know-how and the infrastructure. All right. 2 weeks ago, beautiful Saturday, 80 degrees here in Boise, Idaho. And what did my family decide to do? We decided to get dressed up as if it's the fall and go take family pictures. Okay.
Same. We did it too.
Family pictures are awful. At least when your kids are, yes, when your kids are little in particular and they're not listening and they're fighting with each other. And then it's like, oh, we got to retake that because so-and-so didn't smile or so-and-so messed up. I freaking hate it. I hate it. It was much better this year than it was the year before.
Nick pooped his pants again. We got to retake that.
Dude, don't give me Taco Bell an hour before I'm supposed to take family pictures.
That's what I'm tacoing about.
Anyways, I made a run for the border. I'll tell you what. Anyways, so we're in the middle of this field. We're taking pictures and it just hits me. And maybe this exists, but so I'm bringing this up. I would pay more money to a photographer if they were like, hey, look, don't even worry about everybody getting on the same page and a few pictures. I'm going to take enough pictures of your family, and I'm now using AI where I'll be able to get everybody smiling and looking. And if there's a specific thing that you want, like I'll be able to render it or model it. I don't even know what the right terminology is, but sure, there is editing technology that's existed for a long time that could like put a smile on someone's face or take a blemish away or, make your eyes a different color. But the ability now of AI to generate images of people is almost indistinguishable. Like now I can tell that there's a difference, but when you first saw it, you didn't really know. But now you're like, oh, the skin's too smooth or the hand's messed up or like whatever. So my idea would be somebody who's AI savvy would go figure out the optical software necessary and just reach out to videographers, photographers, family photographers this time of year in particular and sell them a package that makes their job way easier. It's just like instantly creates the perfect family portrait. And I think that they would crush. What do you think?
This is an amazing idea. And I love it. And I love you for saying it. And I'm going to edit this idea to where it comes from my mouth when this becomes published.
I don't care.
All right, let me do you one further. Are you okay? You ready?
Okay. Yep.
Just share your Apple Photos album with me or your Google Photos album with me. Done. Or, hey mom, curate some of your favorite pictures of your kids. Maybe they're running around the house in a diaper. Maybe it's like a school picture. I don't care. Just share them with me. I'll do all the rest. And then you just, hey, here's the family at the hayride. Here's the family in a Halloween setting, at a Christmas setting, Everything, anything you want. Here's the family on Mount Everest, whatever you want. It could be goofy. It could be real. It could be a Western saloon style, and it could cost next to nothing. And I love your idea of piggybacking on the photographers because that makes distribution easier, but you don't even have to. This is just a website. This could just be a website. $50, $49, $19, where you just link your Google Photos album or your Apple Photos, and you just make it happen, and it just auto generates.
Okay, I'm gonna take your level it up one. Have you ever done one of these? Have you ever like gone to AI generating websites and they're like,
yeah,
upload 10 pictures of yourself? I have.
Yeah.
And I used my Apple Google Photos, and the AI Nick was not good. It did not look like me. But it was because the pictures that I had just weren't either consistent or like not a good angle, or the resolution wasn't great, etc. What if we brought back the mall photo booths? Not photo booths, but like photo shops where you go and as a family and take photos. And it's like, instead of family pictures and dressing up to go in the middle of the sun on, in a field or whatever, you just go to the studio, you take X number of pictures per kid, and then those are the photos that they use for that year's Christmas card, right? Like, and then you don't have to worry about like, oh, I want it during the golden hour, so I'm going to make sure to get there between 4 and 5, and we can't be too early and we can't be too late, right? Like, So you go, it's studio, lighting's really good, you get really good pictures, and then, like you said, you use AI to edit it and you spit out the family Christmas card.
I think you could do that, but I don't think you have to do all that. I think you could just say like, hey mom, just take your iPhone and get a few pictures of your kids smiling, and I'll take care of the rest. Maybe
it's gotten better now. I'm just saying that when I took my pictures, and I took 10 of them and I uploaded it, and it was like going to generate me the Nick AI. It was not good.
I think Midjourney and Comfy UI has better options now, because I did a headshot generator as well for Jesse, and
Jesse's looked good.
It was passable, but it wouldn't be used for this. Like you're saying,
Jesse's was fine, and that was like a year ago, wasn't it? Maybe you're right. Well, either way, that's for someone to solve, right? Like either you could do it, and it's like, hey, you got to have an iPhone 14 or higher because you need this much resolution, and you need to have these lights set up or whatever, right? Like these are the parameters. Or you can, for an upcharge, you can come in and we'll do it all for you. Family pictures in particular, I freaking love the idea of never, ever in my life having to go do family pictures again with my family.
Yeah. And I will say, my kids are older than yours, 8, 10, 12, 14. And we just got ours done 2 weeks ago. And it was still terrible. Terrible because my kids were terrible? Great. No, actually, they were the most well-behaved they've ever been. But I was terrible because I was hungry. And it was taking forever. It was taking so long. And there was always another shot that she had to get. And I hope she's not listening right now because I hated it. So this is just another unbundling idea, right? There's a zillion AI headshot generators out there. We're just saying, hey, AI generated photos for family pictures, right?
Yes.
That's it. This needs to be a thing. I love it. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Dude, and think about this. If I told your wife, or if you told my wife, hey, you want to do family pictures once a year? Or would you like to send out a card in the fall and around Christmas and in the spring? And what about a back to school card? Oh, what about the summer recap card? Or, oh, it's Royce's birthday. What about that card? Like all of a sudden you don't need to do like once a year, get everybody together and have the family picture. You can generate them like throughout the year without all the freaking hassle.
You've heard of chat books, right?
Of course. Yeah.
Shout out to homeboy Nate Quigley, my friend from Live TV / I say friend, I really mean boss. He was my boss. He founded chat books in Utah. Big company. It could be a chat books. It could be like the AI chat books, right? Where it's like a subscription. Because all chat books does is it syncs with your Google Photos and your Instagram, and every month or every quarter, it will just send you a physical book of your pictures. It could be like that, but for AI pictures.
What Jess does is like, she'll go and select the ones that she wants.
Yeah, you can do that too.
Yeah.
You can do that too. But this would have been great for, my family, because my parents got divorced when I was 13 and we never went on vacations after the divorce. So we could have generated pictures of us on the beach and on vacation. Yeah. And we could have been an AI generated happy family. It would have been nice.
AI is going to make a lot of families happy, actually, when you think about it. Not yours, but families in the future.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got?
All right, let's see.
I'm so happy you liked that one.
So am I. because they're not all winners. Whew. What if like these episodes are actually 2 hours long and we just edit out so much of them they land at like 40 minutes? All right, I got one for you. So Zapier and Make. Okay.
Will you explain the two of them?
That's what I'm about to do.
Sorry. Yes, sir.
Would you stop being so aggressive on my show?
I'm sorry, sir.
Zapier connects APIs from all kinds of tools and platforms. It's very cheap. On the surface, it's very cheap. Make does the exact Make.com, formerly known as Integromat, maybe the most obvious branding change ever. Make is like 85% cheaper than Zapier, but does the same thing, but is significantly more difficult to use. You don't need to be a programmer. It's just clunky. The UI isn't great. Clearly a big company because they have a 4-letter domain name, but they do the same thing. Make and Zapier are the same company. Zapier is just 5 to 6 times more expensive. So use something like Built With, which is a website where you can know what any website in the world is built with, and you can scrape a list of every single Zapier customer on the internet, or you can do cold outreach to them in many other different ways. And you reach out to them with this offer. Hey, why are you using Zapier? You're spending way too much money on your automations. I will convert you to Make and charge 30% of the savings. Because like our Zapier bill is $300 a month. I know people that pay $3,000 to $10,000 a month to Zapier when their Make.com bill would literally be a tenth of that and accomplish the same thing. So you're basically, this is your foot in the door. You get your foot in the door by converting them from Zapier to Make. You're basically stealing customers from Zapier. And then the real money is in being like their automation go-to guy. For a monthly flat fee, you fix everything that breaks, you add more automations, you fix the old automations. It's just your way to get your foot in the door. You could even do it for free just to get your foot in the door.
We've talked about the automations and the AI companies before, but this is just like, you're not even targeting companies who may or may not have it. You're targeting companies who have it.
Mm-hmm.
Can we debate really quickly? Why do you still call it Zapier? Why do you not call it Zapier?
Because I've been using it for 11 years and it's what I've always called it.
So isn't it so funny, like how you like find these words and then the first time you hear it after years of saying it the wrong way, you're like, that's wrong. I don't care that they founded the company. They're saying it wrong. I agree with you. Yeah. It's Zapier. Anyways.
I know, like as soon as right after my parents got divorced, Ron moved in and I just kept calling him dad because it was like, that's my dad figure, you know? So silly. What's up? Is that too dark?
It was too close to home, actually.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Anyways, I'm not going to keep going. Okay, a couple questions because I'm like an idiot with this. When you say that Built With will tell you who the Zapier customers are, how does Built With work? It doesn't just tell you who built the website. It also tells you what API integrations the website is implemented?
For certain API integrations, yeah. Not for everything.
Okay, so it would only catch certain ones.
Yeah, like for instance, your website might have a Stripe integration, like a Stripe connection or a Stripe widget, or like a Facebook Pixel integration connection or widget, but it's not built on a Facebook Pixel. It's not built on Stripe, right?
And are you just assuming that it's Zapier? Like if someone has a Stripe payment automation, is there any other way that it could be something else? Or is it going to be through Zapier?
It's like, I mean, Zapier has like 80% of the market. So,
okay. So you are making some assumption. It's not saying like, oh, Zapier is, okay, cool. I don't know this. How does Zapier charge? Is it a volume thing, or is it like the number of API calls, or is it the number of unique APIs that you have on your website? Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah, they charge by number of zaps, which is like an integration, right? So if I want to add subscribers to Beehive from Google Sheets, that's one zap. And then it will charge by tasks, which is the number of times it moves an email from Google Sheets to Beehive.
Got it.
On like a credit system. So I could have one zap that has like multiple steps that could cost like 3 or 4 credits. It's not necessarily one credit for every task.
But for this purpose, if I'm just trying to identify the zaps that a website has, it's not also going to tell me the volume that are being transacted across that? No. Okay.
No.
Is there any way that you could identify who the mega users were? right? So instead of just a blanket or a blast, you could maybe tailor your approach to say like, oh, I know this company's using Zapier and they're probably paying $5,000 a month just based on the number of integrations they have. Like, is there a way you could sort of get a proxy for how much they're spending, or is it just, you can't really do that? It could have one Zap, but it's running, thousands of different whatever tasks across that. And so they are paying thousands of dollars, but you wouldn't know that because you don't see the volume. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, how would you identify the volume?
There's a lot of ways you could infer. You would never know exactly. But for instance, you scrape a list of every Shopify site and you're going to say, okay, if it's Shopify Plus, then that is a high volume Shopify store by default. Therefore, they are much more likely to be using a lot more Zapier tasks. Or you could, Built With will also tell you what their monthly traffic is, roughly. It's not perfectly accurate. You're like, okay, I'm just going to assume more monthly traffic equal more Zaps.
This idea would probably be for somebody who has experience in e-commerce, who has experience with creating or at least managing integrations with Zapier.
It doesn't have to be e-commerce.
Just somebody who would have the knowledge to say like, oh, you're a Shopify premium store. Like I wouldn't know that just off the bat, right? But somebody who's in that space or who understands e-commerce is going to look at that and say, oh, in order to have that, that's a $5,000 a month subscription. So that's going to justify the spend because they have whatever, the volume. But I'm trying to get at like, who would be the perfect profile to do a business like this?
Someone that does not necessarily know how to code, but knows how to use Zapier. Like who is technically savvy enough to know their way around tools like these.
Like Jordan?
Yeah. Or like me, right? Like I think like most people our age. I would think. Because like if you can code.
I spent 20 minutes today trying to get our VA access to my Facebook business profile.
Well, in your defense, it's a little tricky in there. It gets a little hairy in Meta Business Manager.
Is this thing on? Are you my grandson?
No, but like I think if you know how to code, then it might not be the highest and best use of your skills or time. It would definitely be easy enough for you, but yeah.
But the added piece to it, because you're saying like this is the foot in the door, the implementation, you probably would need some level of experience creating these Zaps, because it would be hard to go into a business cold and just be like, oh yeah, you should do a Zap for this and a Zap for that and a Zap for this. Like you don't know how their process flows work. You don't know where and what they should be implementing for their payment processor. You don't know where and what they should be implementing for their, CRM or for their email software or for checkout systems, or you know what I mean? Like you probably want to have some expertise in that space, right?
Or you could use AI. I'm a consultant for X, Y, or Z business. These are the tools they're currently using. I'm now a Zapier expert or a Make expert. What would you suggest? I think the hardest part about this business, now that I think about it, would be learning Make, because Zapier is very, very easy to learn. But Make is a little more difficult. It's doable. There are YouTube channels dedicated to it, but it would take a little time.
See, to me, that doesn't scare me off. I would just, if you can get the demand, if you can get the customers, then you can figure out the fulfillment either by going to something you could teach yourself. You could go through AI and teach yourself, or you could go to Upwork or Fiverr or, anybody who has experience with the Make integrations and just start outsourcing it. And essentially you'd have to build out a little agency that you're then managing people, but you're going to do that anyways if you had any ambition to scale the business.
Yeah. Can I pivot for a minute? Just kind of a quick tidbit. So you know how we're all like, oh, blue collar business is where it's at because AI is not about to take the plumber's job, right?
Yes.
It's a meme. It's a thing. So yesterday I replaced the light bulbs in my boys' room, and there's just normal light bulbs. And later that day, the breaker was flipped in their room. And I'm like, breaker? What? And Jesse's like, well, it's because of the light bulbs. And I'm like, okay, being a man, I know that you're not going to trip a breaker from some little light bulbs in like a fan, right? And she's like, I don't know. It's too coincidental. I'm like, no, you're right. But like that, why would that trip a breaker? Yada, yada, yada. I was about to call an electrician because I couldn't figure it out. Then I just take a picture of the old light bulb. I take a picture of the new light bulb and I upload them to ChatGPT and I just tell it what's going on. And I'm like, what is going on? And it gave me the most specific answer. It's like certain LED bulbs have this fault that cause them to spike in usage, where they're like, yes, Chris, you're correct. It should not trip the breaker, but it could be a faulty bulb that's sending the wrong signal to the breaker. So all you got to do is just return the bulb and buy new ones. I'm like, that just saved me $250. Like, I don't think AI is about to replace the plumber, but I think it's going to make some good headway. What do we think?
I don't think it's going to replace the plumber, but I do think it's going to make everybody more efficient. If you look at the trend of technology over time, it has made productivity skyrocket, because now instead of sending a letter and waiting for somebody's response, I can send an electronic letter and get their response in, a 100th of the time. And so there are these like incremental time savings that you all of a sudden get back that you're then able to reallocate. What I would argue is that in that instance, now the electrician is able to get to the highest and best use of their time. Now it makes electricians even more important, because they're only going to be called out for the jobs that like you can't troubleshoot with AI. And in fact, it makes me a little bit more optimistic about the trades shortage that we have right now. It's something ridiculous. Like for every 5 tradesmen, and tradesmen, I'm lumping in HVAC, repair, electrician, auto body, et cetera. For every 5 that are retiring, 2 are taking their place. Like we do not have the replacement rate necessary to meet the demand for all of the trades needs moving forward. However, if AI could come in and all of a sudden reduce, like just by doing what you did, it reduces demand by 20%. Now all of a sudden we don't need 5, we need 3.5. And so there's a 1.5 gap. And so like, how do we now fill the 1.5 gap? So that's how I view it, is like, it's just going to make us more productive, because it's never going to fix the like, oh, how do I rewire my house? There was an electrical fire. How do I rewire this? Like, I don't want to have to guess and say, oh, I'm pretty sure ChatGPT told me what to do, and then have an electrical fire and your house burns down. Like, you're still going to want to call an electrician who's actually been certified in that.
Yeah, I think it's not going to take any jobs or anything, like in the way that I'm talking about, but it's certainly going to make us more efficient. And I think maybe one big takeaway is you've just got to start rewiring your brain to think, I need to ask ChatGPT, just like we had to do with Google. I got to ask Google before I do that. It's like, I don't use Google at all anymore. I ask ChatGPT everything. We're best friends.
Have you messed with either Meta's glasses or Apple's Vision Pro?
Mm-mm.
I could see that being something where it's like, all right, I put on the Vision Pro and it's like, hey, I'm looking at this. Oh, my breaker is off again. Or, there's an issue with my car. And it just all of a sudden, using AI in real time, is like, okay, take this off. Like, it could troubleshoot for you. So then it either significantly cuts down on the amount of time that you're going to have someone coming in and diagnosing, or you can solve the problem by not having somebody actually come out and fix it. So I could see it with augmented reality really, really disrupting things. But the like literally coming out and fixing plumbing, or, repairing your roof, or power washing your driveway, like AI is not replacing that. Like, those are still things that are going to have to be done by people. But the diagnostic that you're describing, like what is wrong with it, I think AI definitely will eliminate a lot of need for specialized services for the diagnostics.
All I know is that thanks to this cheap guy right here, there's some electrician in the Northwest DFW suburbs that's $250 poorer today because of ChatGPT. So I'd say that's enough. That's enough data to make a pretty significant conclusion here, Nick.
I love it.
Okay, thanks for joining us on the Koerner office /HoldCo Bros, and we will see you next Friday.